Hey there, fellow hustlers and aspiring entrepreneurs. Welcome back to the channel. If you're diving into the world of low content Amazon KDP or just stumbled upon this video on your quest for business adventures, you are in for a treat. I'm Rebecca Boland, and today we're going to take a deep dive into my raw and unfiltered journey of my first year as a low content Amazon KDP seller. Buckle up because we're about to peel back the curtain and spill the tea on what it's really like behind the scenes. Stick around because in today's video, I'm laying it all out. The wins, the whoopsies, the what I wish I knew earliers, and of course, the behind the scenes income reports month by month. That's right, I am showing you my income reports, telling you the truth of what it's like to try to get a KDP business up and running and the invaluable lessons that came my way. So whether you're a seasoned seller looking for a relatable experience or you're considering taking the plunge, this video has got you covered. So grab your favorite beverage, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's dive headfirst into the chaos that was my first year as a low content Amazon KDP seller. Hey y'all, if you're new to my channel, I am Rebecca Boland, the voice behind Rebecca Boland Strategy and the Professional Mom blog. And over the past 2 years after having my first child, I have started exploring several different online ventures and ways to make money online that don't feel skeezy or spammy. What intrigued me most about starting on Amazon KDP is when I started hearing people talk about how you can generate your own content but have a physical product delivered to the end user with no inventory need of your own. Prior to getting started on Amazon, I was already invested in Etsy selling. I jumped onto Etsy in 2020 selling physical, customized products, and about a year later, I started another shop where I tried out the growing trend of selling digital products. To date, I actually have 4 Etsy shops up and running, and they all have their unique challenges. While digital products on a marketplace like Etsy definitely still have their pros with the cons, on the flip side, something like Amazon KDP felt like the best of both worlds to me. You could create the content, but still charge the prices and provide the perceived value to a customer of getting a physical product in their hands. If you're not as familiar with Amazon KDP or you just started hearing about it, Amazon KDP stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. And it's a way that independent publishers like you and I can create a book and upload it directly to the Amazon platform. Now, while the word Kindle is in the name, you can, of course, create ebooks for instant download on Kindle, but you can also format the books to be physical, tangible products that can be ordered on Amazon. And what's really great is it works similarly to a print-on-demand type service where you upload your files to Amazon, but Amazon actually prints the book themselves and sends it to your customer after there is an order. Besides the fact that you don't have to worry about the logistics of making the book and shipping it over, the other huge benefit is that there is no upfront cost to you. So most marketplaces like Etsy, or even if you have your own Shopify website, take some initial investment. Even if it's the small listing fee or whether it's the hosting fee for your own site, there is upfront cost that you have to pay first, assuming that you are going to get your business up and running and eventually make that money back, and of course, hopefully with additional profit. With Amazon KDP, there is no upfront cost. So the only costs to you are if you pay for any fancy softwares to create your book in the first place. Otherwise, you could technically go directly to Amazon KDP right now, start your own account, and upload a book that you formatted with Microsoft Word or another free software and potentially start profiting from it in a matter of days. Getting started with KDP can be a little bit confusing and intimidating, and there are not a ton of resources on it just yet. But just like most things, there is a lot of information on YouTube. Obviously, if you have stumbled onto this video right now, I would love for you to hit subscribe and stick with me because I have shared and I will continue to share a lot of my lessons throughout the journey. But of course, there are other sellers who have been creating books long before me. And I do believe there's a course or two floating around out there. I haven't taken one yet, so I can't recommend one for myself. But Amazon KDP does have a lot of content on their site and a lot of resources that can help you get started, including templates for margins and some of the technical pieces that you have to work through while creating and uploading your book. Another thing I want to make sure to mention is why I keep referring to low content KDP. So if you are not an author, which many of us are not, before you say to yourself, this is not right for me, I don't have anything to do with books, you might actually be interested to know that no content and low content books are incredibly popular because they do not require writing. A lot of self-publishing authors have taken to this platform because you can create things like coloring books, journals, diaries, planner logs, and books that otherwise have repetitive content, even something as simple as a lined journal. By thinking about it that way, it quickly becomes easier to see how almost anybody could get started with Amazon KDP as an additional income stream if they're willing to do the upfront work in understanding what it takes. Now, I do have a lot of other videos on my YouTube channel about how I pick niches and the resources I use, so I don't want to spend too much time on that here because I know that looking at the numbers and the income behind the curtain is what's really exciting for most of us. But because this is a comprehensive first year video, I do want to make a point to lay out the tools I use and the resources so that anybody visiting today for the first time can get a hold of everything they need in this one video and feel confident enough to jump in for themselves. Like I referenced, you don't need a lot of fancy software or anything super high end. I use one tool to create all of my books in terms of margins, layout, moving pieces around on the page, and that is Canva. If you haven't tried Canva before, it is absolutely amazing. I use it for every one of my online businesses in a different way. I am an affiliate, and I will drop an affiliate link down below. You can do a ton with Canva free. And if you start getting used to it and you realize that you want a few of the extra bonus features, Canva Pro has been worth every dollar I've spent. And I actually find it to be incredibly high value and low cost for everything it provides. The next really cool thing is that I mentioned graphics if you're not an author, but what if you're not an artist? Well, I'm not either, and that's why I go to Creative Fabrica for all of my graphics. I've got a video for you on how to take graphics from Creative Fabrica because it does provide you a commercial use license and be allowed to convert them to make them into your own book and sell. I have an affiliate link to Creative Fabrica down below, and I recommend that you at least check in on them because they always have some big sales, especially if it's near a holiday season. And I highly advise that if you come across the 40 or 50% sale off of the annual fee, you take it and run with it while you see it because you'll have unlimited graphics that will ultimately come down to less than pennies a piece. Honestly, these are the only two tools I use in creating the books. Again, you don't even need those. You could potentially get started on Microsoft Word for your formatting, and if you're already an artist, you won't need any additional pieces. But if you're neither of those two, KDP selling can still absolutely be for you. All right, so let's jump into the fun stuff. What kind of money does Amazon KDP actually generate? First, it's important to know that the type of books you're creating are going to be a huge factor in your profit potential. If you're creating something like a simple lined journal, you are going to have to create a lot of books or do a lot of marketing push that makes your book stand out amongst others because it's a huge competitive pool and customers don't otherwise have a big reason to pick your book over another book. So if that's the case, you also probably have to price it a little bit lower, and you probably have to create hundreds of variations to find what sticks. On the other hand, if you are an author and you're creating a high content book, like an actual novel, you of course are going to have a lot higher potential to stand out, and it'll be more about marketing your book to the right audience and selling a lower quantity of books at a higher profit. You do set your own prices on Amazon KDP, so of course that will play a factor too. Some people like to compete for the lowest cost because they just want their books to sell at a high volume. And other authors might choose to aim for a higher profit margin, even if their book is still low content. And then, of course, it matters how many books you create overall and what niches they're in. Just like any quote unquote passive income venture, you do have to put in a lot of the work up front, but after that, Amazon KDP truly can be passive income. If you have your books set up for sale and you never marketed them and you never spent an advertising dollar in your life, they still will sit on that Amazon shelf and could continue to sell. So knowing that, let's look into the numbers behind the scenes of my specific story in my first year as an Amazon KDP seller. So I created and published my first book on Halloween of 2022. It took a few days for the review and therefore to go live. So that means I was not live as a published KDP author, I'd call it, until November of 22. So when I talk about my first year, I say it's from November 22 through the end of October 23. The first thing I highlight in all of my income report videos is that right here where it shows you all 354 books, unfortunately that number doesn't correlate with the time frame you're looking at in terms of units sold or revenue. That number is always going to be the number of current books you have published. So here you can see that today, as of December 8th, I have 354 books published. But this is my lifetime view, and of course I did not have that many books published at the beginning of the year or on my first day of becoming a seller. The other thing that's a little silly here is that the custom view only gives me a few different options to work with the numbers, so I can't get this to show me exactly November of last year through October of this year. And what I've had to do is pull up my lifetime stats and subtract out the 5 or so weeks from November and December that are pulling into this report in order to actually see what the real 1 year report looks like. Whether you care about those specifics or not, they are important to me to point out because transparency is so valuable, especially as an entrepreneur. I always want to share where I'm getting my numbers from, and I want other entrepreneurs to hopefully take away what type of data they can look at in their own numbers. Anyway, that was my aside as a quick numbers nerd, but here you can see that if I look up the number of books I sold through my first year of publishing, I sold 740 books. That would be units. So 740 individual books were published and shipped to my customers, and I never had to touch a single one. That means in terms of royalties, you can see here I show you screenshots of my dashboard. And again, you can see I've made just over $2,000 through December 8th this year. But if I pull out this 772 from the past few weeks, you can see that in my first year on Amazon KDP, I generated a royalty revenue of $1,263.71. So not bad considering I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know whether this would be a viable income stream at all. But of course it is over a full year. So if you break that down into months, I'm making maybe $100 a month. Not that impressive if you look at it that way. But the way I like to look at it is actually taking a sneak peek at this screenshot on the right, the money I had to subtract out because it's too recent and doesn't fall in the first year date range. And if I think about it this way, I can say, wow, I've already generated $772 in the last 5 weeks on Amazon KDP. Of course, this is the month of November and the first week of December. So there are a few things going on here, including number one, we had Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and of course, all of the other holiday sales that always tend to be higher across all retailers and platforms in fourth quarter. And of course, meanwhile, I have continued to publish more books throughout the year. So I continue to see an increase because the volume increase is helping more books be seen and therefore more books be sold. But the really fun thing is to realize that in the past 5 weeks, I've already generated 60+% of what I made in all of my first year on Amazon KDP. And my first year did include a November and December season. Of course, at that time, I didn't have a lot of books yet. I didn't have a lot of seasonal books. So it does help that now I had the opportunity to create books for Christmas sales this time around. But 60+% in 5 weeks of what I made all of last year makes me incredibly hopeful that that growing pains season in year one is going to be behind me and give me a big opportunity ahead in the future. So a few things happened throughout the quote lifetime of my first year, and you can see that I was selling a few books at a time throughout the first several months. Now, you first start to really see a peak difference in June and July of 2022, and a few things happened there. One is my account stopped being terminated for a week at a time for a lot of silly reasons. I'll drop some videos about that, but I did have 3 terminations in the first several months. Those, of course, are all their own unique stories, and luckily I was able to appeal successfully all of those. But that first quarter of 2023 was really getting to me, and I wasn't sure whether this was going to be a venture that even let my shop stay alive for a few days at a time, much less longer term. After March, I never had another termination, so I picked up confidence and was once again putting a lot more time and energy into book creation. So I did have a lot more books, but I also started using lottery ads in summer, I believe on July 1st. And you can see that that also helped my books to get exposed to more customers and start peaking in sales. And then, of course, we are going into third and fourth quarter, which do naturally tend to be higher sales months. And like I said a minute ago, I didn't have a ton of seasonal books or even much of a bookshelf to sell last November and December. So having more of those options entering third and fourth quarter, I'm getting to see that peak. Now, let's look into those lottery ads I mentioned and see what kind of cost I actually had to spend to get these books to make some sales. So I saw a few YouTubers share their experiences with lottery ads, which is essentially a really low-cost, low-risk way to start dabbling with ads without trying to do a lot of research about your target audience or creating any type of specific target demographic. And I won't go into all the detail about how to set them up in this video, but ultimately I started with, we're talking like 7 cents, 10 cents type budget to potentially get your book shown. So my lifetime spend on these have been about $236, but a big portion of that has been spent in the last 5 weeks, about $68 of it. So ultimately in the first year, I spent just under $168 on ad spend. So yes, July through October, my last 4 months of my first year, I did have this increase that we have to consider when we look at how much money I generated. So in year one, I still got to pocket $1,095.73 from this KDP venture. I love looking back on this first year in Amazon KDP for a few reasons. One is that it gives me an idea of whether I want to continue this going forward in 2024. And personally, this venture is absolutely worth it to me. I have found a niche that I love generating books for, which makes it fun. I have been able to streamline my process with Canva and create a Fabrica, and therefore it's making it easy and fast for me to continue to produce high quality books. And even though $1,000 in a year isn't necessarily a life-changing amount of money, it does show that there is a lot of continued potential and a lot of upward trajectory, considering within that first year, several of those months weren't even bringing in 3 figures. Whether you are already an Amazon KDP seller or you are curious about getting started it's fair to say that we should look at a few of the overall pros and cons from the perspective of looking back the first year. Of course, we have several pros and advantages of using this platform. One is that it's incredibly low cost and therefore low risk to get started. It's a way that if you are a creative entrepreneur or an artist, you can continue to use your skill set to start another income stream. It's of course invaluable to be able to work from home and on your own flexible schedule. So it can be used as a side hustle here and there, or it can be used as a full-time commitment, and you will get out of it what you put into it. And a hidden advantage it's provided for me is really expanding my awareness of other online ventures that I've branched into. For instance, being approved as an Amazon affiliate and now their additional step of an Amazon on-site influencer, which has expanded my opportunities to continue to build new streams of income online. Of course, on the flip side, we have to talk about the cons and the disadvantages. Of course, one of my biggest hurdles that those of you following my story might remember is being terminated the first time. I thought, forget it, it's over before it even started. And once I resolved that, I was shocked to be terminated a second and third time for various reasons that are still honestly unbeknownst to me. But obviously I have had my account reinstated and since then have not had problems triggering any switches there. So hopefully that's resolved, but it is something big to be aware of. Of course, if you put all of your time and all of your eggs into this basket, you are fully at the mercy of Amazon. So it might be a little risky to make this a full-time job type of structure because it can take a quick snap and a termination of your account. And whether you had a 6-figure business or not, it can be gone overnight. Another hurdle is that it does take a bit of upfront work to make sure that you understand the structure and the layout of the books. If you've never published a book before, you might not be as familiar with what size of book is the norm. Is a journal typically 6x9 or 9x7? And you might spend a little more time doing research there. There could also be a bit of a learning curve with setting up the margins, making sure that you've evaluated gutter size correctly, making sure you understand some of the lingo, bleed versus no bleed, and getting into your groove as a creator. However, if those pros outweigh those cons for you, this is definitely a venture that I recommend you try out. Again, it being no risk really jumps to the top of that list and kind of outweighs a lot of those other things for me, which is why I jumped into it. Ultimately, my key takeaways for Amazon KDP publishing in a low content niche specifically start with the idea that if it sounds fun to you, you should definitely start. I had thought about this for months and months, and I think one final video came across my desk and I finally took the plunge and wondered why I hadn't started earlier. So far, this has also been one of my online ventures that has shown the most potential in the least amount of time and continues to be more passive than some of the others, which require higher amounts of ongoing content to really keep the ball rolling, as opposed to having a bookshelf here that continues to sell itself even if you don't market. While you may not necessarily make 4, 5, or 6 figures, especially in your early years, you do get out what you put into it. And I love that feeling of knowing if I've put in extra hours and extra time, I can expect to see an extra return, which is not a type of satisfaction that you necessarily get from an hourly or salaried job. So if that is a little bit of an extra high that you want to feel in your days, that is a nice addition. And I love that there are so many small milestones that you can celebrate along the way of this journey that encourage you to continue forward. So whether it is your first book sale or your first month of hitting $50 mark or a 3-figure mark, or maybe it's your first book that you've published high content, or maybe it's your first month of having Kindle pages read on your ebook. There are so many small milestones that if you can get your mindset wrapped around celebrating those along the way, Hopefully you'll be in a place that in a year from now you can look back and say, wow, I almost missed the big picture. I really have started to build a business here. So I think that is more than enough for today. If you have stuck with me this far, thank you so much for your continued support of my YouTube channel, your appreciation for the value that I am trying to share with you, and for always letting me know about your experiences. There are several of us in the same boat, and having that community and connection always goes a long way, especially when not everybody has other entrepreneurs they are surrounded by. If you haven't subscribed and you found this video useful or valuable in any way, please go ahead and hit subscribe. Hit the bell so you get notifications, and make sure to stay tuned because I have a lot of fun content coming up in 2024, and I will even share a little secret with you. I think I will be branching out into talking more about those Amazon affiliate and Amazon influencer programs that I mentioned earlier in this video. So if you are interested in continuing to build and grow new income streams online alongside me, make sure to stick around. Until next time, bye.